Hi, I'm Rich Daniels from the NYSE Euronext Sales and Relationship Management team. I have responsibility for Buyside Relationship Management. I'm joined by Clarke Camper from our Washington office. Clarke is head of our Government Affairs and Public Policy team. Clarke and his team are in Washington, where they provide a unique voice to federal policymakers and advocate on behalf of NYSE Euronext, the investing public, our listed companies, and our other constituents. Thanks for joining us, Clarke.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Glad to be here.
I guess, can you give us a little bit of an overview of what your team does?
Sure, yeah, happy to. In fact, your intro nicely tees up what I like to think of at the macro level in terms of our advocacy in Washington, that we're really representing kind of three groups of constituents, if you will. Mm-hmm. One is undeniably our own interest, as any government affairs office would do.
Right.
We represent NYSE Euronext, but there are two other buckets that are very real in terms of the positions and efforts that we take in Washington.
Right.
One is the buy-side bucket, I would say sort of a little more broadly, sort of our partners. So I think of trading firms, traders, listed companies. And then the sort of third bucket is the markets more broadly. Sounds a little corny, but when you're the New York Stock Exchange, people actually do expect you to take a position on behalf of markets and investors more broadly. So with that as kind of a macro level, one initiative that is really top priority for us this year is market structure advocacy. Right. We've made no secret of the fact that we believe that the relationship between off-exchange and on-exchange trading is out of whack. We've also been very, very clear, we do not oppose off-exchange trading at all. But our point is, going back to our three buckets, is that we think that the interest of all market participants and investors more broadly, particularly retail investors, are not well served by the current mix of on and off exchange trading, and that those constituencies would be better served if we were to have more on exchange trading. And so more specifically, what we've asked for, rather than push for any particular specific initiative, right, we've asked for the SEC and Congress more broadly to really take a holistic look at our current market structure, kick the tires a bit,
right,
see if they agree with us. And if I think of interest to our audience, I do think that particularly on this issue, as well as on many other issues, but our interests are very much aligned with the buy side.
Excellent. So a holistic review of where we are and what needs to change.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Can you give us some examples of some microstructure issues that may be on the agenda?
Sure. More microstructure, for instance, one issue that we're very active on is the Volcker Rule.
Right.
Again, of great interest to our viewers, trying to ensure that a market maker exception is workable, right, as much as possible. That's something we've been very, very active on. Volcker Rule is taking longer to get done than most people expected. I wouldn't expect to see it out until maybe late Q2 or right, early Q3. I'm not saying I think it's going to be perfect by any means either, but right, I do think that through the efforts of people like us and other market participants trying to get in and help them make the exemption more workable, it's going to be better than it otherwise would be. Other issues that we're active on, if we move over to the CFTC, right, we've been quite active on the Dodd-Frank derivatives rulemaking provisions, right, SEFs, for instance, trying to make sure that they're workable as much as possible. This whole topic of futurization of swaps, for instance, I think that's more smoke than fire, if you will. I think there's a lot of talk about it. I don't think it's probably going to affect implementation of Dodd-Frank a lot.
Okay.
But we've been very active participants in roundtables and in meetings at the CFTC. Our goal, again, is to make sure that whatever they come out with is workable as much as possible, practical, right, as much as possible, understandable, transparent, et cetera. And I believe all of that would be very much in keeping with the interests of the buy side as well.
I guess moving to a more microstructure point of view, sure, what do you expect we'll see with the new incoming head of the SEC and her agenda? Yeah,
it's interesting. Mary Jo White's nomination to be head of the SEC appears to be entirely on track by all accounts, particularly on Capitol Hill. She's doing very well. It's no secret that she is not steeped in a lot of securities issues. The reports are that she's doing, again, she's obviously very bright, very talented, right, so she's doing a fine job in those discussions, but she's clear about saying, this isn't necessarily her expertise. The reason that I mention that is that I think that honestly, anyone who tells you that they know what her agenda is going to be is lying, because nobody that I know who's credible knows exactly where she is going to go. So I think that we're going to have to wait to see until she gets into the chair to see where she goes. I would say, though, there are a couple things that do seem pretty clearly teed up. So current SEC Chairman Walter has talked about Reg SCI, the effort that would essentially codify the automated review policy program. Now, she's also made it clear that they're going to go beyond what is existing requirements under that program, so it's not clear where that goes. But again, I think you'll see that. I think there's kind of a theme of technology that runs through a lot of this, because I think you'll also see, obviously there's a lot of movement on CAT, there's movement on things like decimalization, which on one level is very much a tech issue, although there are obviously market structure elements to that as well. But that's kind of a long way of saying that I think we're going to see a series of relatively discrete, small bore objectives that the SEC either accomplishes or moves on this year, while Mary Jo White then gets in place and makes more clear her more macro agenda.
Okay. So to me, that sounds like we'll get through limit up, limit down, and a few
Yes.
other microstructure things.
Absolutely.
But maybe no larger agendas.
Yeah,
Until
I would be surprised. So as I said to our viewers, we absolutely, we being NYSE Euronext, will be in there advocating on market structure issues. I think we need to realize that that is going to be a longer term kind of endeavor. And so, so more specifically, 2013, I don't expect to see Chairman White, assuming that she is indeed there, have any new kind of groundbreaking initiatives.
Okay. Clarke, that's great information. Thanks for joining us today.